Thank God. We thank God that I've joined due to some technical feature to connect, but we thank God that I have joined. People, Badmos, Ahmed, Favorite, Tabayo. I can see all of you. Akins, Oluwaihe, Madonna. All of you are welcome to today's
Good afternoon, sir.
Can hear me very well. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, so without wasting time, last time we looked at Age. So we studied Age, and we saw that Age has a chloroplasts. It carry out photosynthesis. So today we are going to look at so today we are going to look at the roots. We are going to so the root is the part of flowering plants above below the soil, and they help to water and other mineral elements, other mineral salts. So the roots, they go the soil and help the plant to absorb water and other nutrients. This is what we are going to look at today. At the end of our today's lecture, we'll be able to the types of roots. We list the main types of roots, and we describe the root regions. We describe the root regions, and then we give the characteristics of roots, and then of course discuss root modifications. That's what we are going to do. So if you pull out a plant, you will see the root, and the roots are below the soil. So it's this root that we want to look at. When we finish looking at the root, we look at the stem, and then preferably we could look at the leaves. So that root, the root is the part of the plant that grow below the soil and then absorb water and other mineral elements that the plant needs in order to survive. So that is the root. Then types of roots. Types of roots. Roots are divided into two types, namely the fibrous roots and tap roots. Fibrous roots and what? The tap roots. So the fibrous roots comes from monocotyledonous plants, while the tap root comes from dicotyledonous plants. And what is monocotyledon and what is dicotyledons? Monocotyledons are those plants that have only one cotyledon, while dicotyledonous plants are those plants that have two cotyledons. Example of a monocot or monocotyledonous plant is maize. And maize also have fibrous roots or adventitious roots, while example of a dicotyledonous plant, that those plants that have two cotyledons. Example is a cashew. Cashew is a dicotyledonous plant. So it grows, it have tap roots. So today we are going to look at these types of roots, the monocotyledonous roots, and then the fibrous root and the tap root. I say that fibrous roots come from monocotyledonous plants, while tap roots come from dicotyledonous plants. So when you draw a tap root, you find out that there is this main root that grows down to the soil very well. Example, mango, cashew. pull it away anyhow because it has taproot, the upper part, you know how other branches, but it has the major root that goes down. That is the taproot. So the dicotyledonous plants have taproot. Why? If you draw a example maize, if you pull a maize up, you find out that it is not so difficult for you because the root doesn't go down. Maize plant because it has a fibrous root or what we call fibrous root that doesn't have a tap root that grows down, a main root that goes down. So you can always pull it out. So when you draw the diagram of a fibrous root, you find that this main root that goes down inside the soil, and that makes it easy for one to pull out fibrous root. Now, what are the functions of the root? You may ask. The root. Root also helps in anchoring the plant. It forms an edge. Without the roots, the plant will not be able to grow. The stem cannot be there. It anchors the plants. So if it has a very powerful root, like it's very difficult for you to pull out the plant. But if it has a kind of fibrous root that doesn't go deep into the soil, it is possible for you to pull out the plant. So one of the functions of the root is that in anchoring the plant. It helps to anchor the plant. That's one of the functions of the root. Secondly, roots also helps to absorb water, mineral elements in the soil. It absorbs water and other numerous mineral elements in the soil. For example, the root for the plant to survive, it has to take in water from the soil. It has to take other from the soil. And what does this function? Is the what? The roots. So that is the second function of the root, which is very, very, very important. Now, if you bring out a root, the regions of the roots, there are some regions you find that when you pull out the roots. Now, the first region going from the deepest part is the one that covers the part of the root. We call it root cap. So when the root something that covers, it's just like a cap you put on your head. So that cap that covers the root tip is known as what? The root cap. This root cap covers that white. If you have ever pulled yam that has not matured, maybe yam that's supposed to stay for 6, you pull it out in 1 month, you find out that that tender area that is whitish is the region of cell division. So after the root meets the region of cell division. So if you check the root as the root grows down, there is a cap that covers the delicate part. That cap is called the root cap. After the root meets the region of cell division, that is where cells divide. With merismatic region. Merismatic is that a region of continuous cell division. Delicate. Now, following the region of cell division is the region of division. So after cell divides, then the cell has to elongate. The next region after the region of cell division is the region of cell elongation. After the region of cell elongation, then you have a region of cell maturation. Cells now mature. That is why you now have the root hairs. So we call it cell maturation. So if I now ask you to draw a root, label the different regions of the root. You draw it down. The last that covers the root is called the root cap. After the root cap, then we meet the region of cell division, or what we call the merismatic region. After the region of cell division, the next region is the region of cell elongation. After the region of cell elongation, the region of what? Cell maturation. What happens at this region? Let's look at what happened at this region. The first one is the root cap, which is the part that covers the root. It covers it, it protects the root. Even you too, you need protection. That's why most of the time you can put on a cap. Most of the time, if you are Okada, you need to put up a cap that protects you. So something that protects the last region, which is called the root cap. So it's because the root tip is very delicate. That is the function of the root cap. And the other one is regional cell division. I've told you that is the meristem. This is the region where cells continuously divide. The cell, this area, what tiny cell wall and contain that dense mass of protoplasm. That's what happens at regional cell division. Then what happens at the regional cell elongation is the following the regional cell division. The cells of this region undergo rapid because the plant needs to grow. So this is the region that after division elongates and enables the plant to grow. So increases the length region of cell elongation. Then the next region after the region of is region of cell maturation. Because when the cell divides, the cell elongates, the cell matures. So this region extends upwards. That's the region of cell maturation. It extends upward. And the root hairs are found in the region of cell maturation. Now, this region of cell maturation differentiates into two tissues that takes place. So that's where you have the hairs now growing on the region of cell maturation. So the region of cell maturation merges into the region of secondary tissues. That's where you now have other tissues called plants. Now, what are the characteristics of the roots? What are the characteristics of the roots? We need to look at the characteristics of the roots. Yes. Of the characteristics of the roots is that the root is not green in color. Though even in some plants, you can find some variations, but generally, the root is not green and descends down the soil. That's one of the characteristics of the root. The second characteristic is that they do not bear buds. There's something called buds. The root doesn't bear buds. But if you come to the stem has buds. And it is this bud that gives rise to what? The new leaf, new branch. So the roots are not known for having buds. Another characteristic of the root is that it bears unicellular hairs. The root bears unicellular hairs. Then another characteristic is that the root develop from inner layer cell, that is the pericycle. If you draw the structure of the cell, you find out that something we call pericycle is developed from the inner layer. Therefore, they are said to be what? That means inner producing. They develop from inner layer. There are some cells that develop from outer layer, and that cell are exogenous. Those tissues that develop from external layer are exogenous, but the roots develop from it. Therefore, it is endogenous. And finally, the sixth characteristics of root is that they don't have nodes. The other one we say it doesn't have, the root doesn't have nodes also. They don't have internodes. So just like bud, I told you, you also have the nodes and internodes. If I'm a piece of yam and look at that yam, you will see nodes on the yam like eye, and then they separate. So the distance between one node and another is called internodes. And that's why you can use your knife and cut yam into pieces and plant them, and because they have these nodes and internodes. Now, we can now go and look at roots, modified roots. The function is to absorb water and mineral salts from the soil and helps to anchor the plant to this, so that the plant in the soil can grow and become strong. That's the root. But then the roots can be modified to serve other functions. Now, the tap roots can be modified for storage of foods. Example is the carrot. It can be modified for storage of food. Most of us take carrots. It's a modified root. That means it's now serving another purpose of storing food. So branch roots can also be modified for in some plants that grow in waterlogged area. You find out that the roots, instead of participating in absorption of water and mineral salt, they can help. They help the plant to carry out respiration. They help the plant to carry out what? Respiration. Now, example is the mangrove plants that grow in the mangrove that is waterlogged. You see the roots coming up like this. And that is the reason why it can do what? Carry out respiration. Adventitious roots can also be modified for storage of what? Food, e.g. sweet potato, cassava. If you have ever seen cassava pulled out, it is the root that got swollen to have food. If you have planted cassava before, you know it is the root of the cassava that got swollen to store food. So adventitious roots like cassava can be modified to store food. Adventitious roots can also be modified to store food. In potato you eat is the root of potato that got swollen to preserve food. Now, some roots also are modified for climbing. Some roots are modified for climbing. We are looking at modified roots, the roots that are modified to carry other purposes. Some are modified for what? Climbing. So you have climbing roots. Some are even modified for a kind of large anchorage. That's why you have buttress roots. So instead of root growing down to the soil, you see that the roots will spread and anchor the plant. That is called buttress roots. So these are some of the modifications of the roots. The root system can be modified to carry. Some are even modified for sucking. So you have sucking roots. Just as some are modified for respiration. So you have respirating roots. You also have what? Sucking roots. These are some of the modifications of the roots. Now let's go. So having seen that, you have seen the roots, you have seen the functions of the roots, you have seen the modifications of the roots, you have seen the regions of the roots. Now let's go to the stem. The stem is the region that grows up. This one grows what? The plant that grows above the soil. While the roots grow down the soil, into the soil, the stem grows what? Up. That is primarily. But you may find some stem that goes down and below the soil, they will start growing below the soil. But that is extension. So the stem has the nodes.
Happy birthday.
Please, can you mute your something? Adenike
Adebukola, please mute yourself.
Hello.
Mute yourself. You are making noise in this class, please.
Mute yourself.
Just mute everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, please mute everyone. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, I said that stem is the one that grows above the soil. While the roots grow down, the stem grows up. Even though you can find some stem that does the opposite, that grows down and then creep inside the soil. We'll see that later, but don't worry. So some stem, one of the characteristics of stems is that all of them, they have nodes, they have internodes, and they have buds. Very, very compulsory in stems. Unlike the roots that doesn't have buds, that doesn't have nodes, that doesn't have internodes. The stem have nodes, the stem have internodes, the stem have buds. Because it's from the buds that a young plant can arise. It's from the node that another plant can come out. So these are that. So at the end of our discussion on the stem, we'll be able to identify a stem, when you see a node, an internode and bud, you know that this is a stem. You'll be able to classify stem into various forms. You'll be able to discuss the characteristics of stems. And then we'll be able to discuss buds and how they are protected. And then name and draw 4 forms of stem modifications. These are the things we are going to note at the end of discussion of stem. So let's just move on immediately. Now, let's look at forms of stem. There are 2 forms of stem. You have the area stem and underground stem. Area stems are out, they grow above the ground. Most stems grow above the ground. But there are some stems that grow underground, below this ground or below the soil. They are called underground stem. Now, some of the area stems are example of the one area stem, something like mango, something like cashew. Which other ones do you have around your compound? So those are the area stems that grow above the soil. Now, even a palm tree, they grow above the soil. Now, let's look at
Coconuts.
Coconuts. Very good. They grow above the soil. But you remember that coconuts have fibrous roots. They don't have tap root, the one that goes down. Even our palm tree doesn't have a tap root. They have fibrous roots because they are monocotyledonous plants. I hope you are following. So some stems are weak and creep above the ground. Some stems are weak. They are not strong to grow aerially, but they can creep on surface of the soil. Now, some can even grow below the soil. So example of underground stems are onion, ginger, etc. Even corn, cocoyam, they above the soil, they grow above the soil. You understand? So these are underground stem. Now let's look at nodes and internodes. The node is the point on the stem or branch where one or more leaves develop. The nodes are points on the stem or branch where one or more leaves develop. That's why I tell you that if you bring a yam and cut it into pieces, that yam, if you plant it, it can germinate. Because each of the cut has what? Nodes and internodes. So once you plant it, other ones can germinate. Now let's look at the bud. What is bud? B-U-D. A bud is a young, undeveloped shoot. A young, undeveloped shoot consisting of very short stem and tender leaves.
A young undeveloped what?
A young, undeveloped shoot.
A shoot.
Consisting of a very short stem and tender leaves. So that is what we call a bud. Most of you do budding in plants. You can carry one piece of plant and bud it in another plant. The one you are joining with the main plant, it has a stem, it has a bud that can grow to give rise to other leaves and branches. I hope you understand. So if that's what we have budding in plants, you can bud plants, you can bud your mango, you can bud your cashew, you can bud your orange. When you cut a piece of stem, it must have a small leaf on it. That is called a bud. And you can do budding. Now let's look at types of buds. Types of buds. Types of buds.
Sorry, sir. Please spell bud.
B-U-D. B-U-D.
Okay, sir.
You can bud mango. You can bud orange. A bud is a short stem that contains what? A small leaf. You understand? On it. Yes. So let's look at types of buds. Types of buds. You have terminal buds. Terminal buds are found at the apex or the terminal of a plant. Terminal buds. For example, if you have an ugu in your house, if you want to cut it, you are advised to cut the leaves, but when you cut it with a knife, palm at the top, it will decrease the growth and it start to branch. So that short one you have cut contains the stem and one leaf. The same thing with onubu or bitter leaf. It has a terminal bud, which if you cut it, it will reduce the growth.
Please, there's so much noise in the background. Who is this?
Amina Awal. Put your then you have auxiliary boards or branch board. Auxiliary boards or branch boards. This develop from the branch. So any plant has branches. So once you cut any of the branches, you get a stem with a leaf, then that is auxiliary boards. Okay. Then you have foliar boards. Foliar develop from the leaves. A board that you got from the leaves is called foliar boards. Foliar. F-O-L-I-A-R. Foliar. Foliar means leaf.
Okay.
Now, I want to tell us that there is a natural way these buds protect itself. Because if anything wounds the buds, it means that the plant will not be able to have branches and may not be able to grow. So there is a natural ways by which buds are protected. Now, one is that they are overlapping and then filled with leaves. If you see a plant, it will grow like this, another grow like this, grow like this. That is overlapping. So that even if this one is wounded, the other one will not be wounded. It's a natural way that buds protect. The buds are protected in plants. So they are overlapping. They are not on one side. You see one side, the other one the other side, the other one side. So they are overlapping. It's a natural way of protecting the buds. Some are covered with haze or gummy secretions. Some of the buds are covered with haze so that you can't reach them. Or some of them have gummy secretion on them. So once you want to touch it, you touch gum. It will soil your hand, and you remove your hand. It's a protective way that buds get protected. Some are supported by dry scaly leaves called bud scales. Some have bud scales that protect them. Scales, a kind of bud scales that protect the main bud. It's just like onion. You remember that onion has also scales that protect the onions. So also some buds have scales that protect them. Some are coated with wax on the surface to control water loss. Some of the buds are coated with wax so that water will not evaporate so easily, so that the buds can stay and last for long. These are different ways, natural ways by which buds are protected. Now let's look at modifications of the buds. Just like as the roots get modified, the buds can also be modified. Some buds develop into stem. Some buds can develop into stem. Some buds can develop into stem. And some buds develop into tendrils. Tendrils, like yam. If you come to yam, you see that tendrils will grow away from the main stem to do what? To attach to something so that stem can continue to grow. So some buds have developed into tendrils. Tendrils are like a tender, something that looks like a rope. If you have ever seen yam grow, you know that it has yam tendrils. So some buds can develop into some buds can develop into tendrils, as I said, like yam. Even fluted pumpkin, ugu. If you look at it, it has tendrils that helps it to what? Anchor itself. So that is the development of modification of the buds. The buds can be modified into what? Tendrils. Some can be modified into thorns. Some can be modified into thorns. Like rose flower. Rose flower. You understand? Behind that rose that's very beautiful and everything, the tendrils has what? Thorns. So that if you want to play with it, it can show you, it can choke you.
I spell thorn.
Thorn, I should spell thorn for you. You don't know the meaning of thorn. T-H-R-O-R-N.
Sir, don't be answering all these people. This boy is annoying. What is it? Don't spell it like you cannot do.
Thorn can, those things that prick you in plants are called thorns. So sometimes some buds can be developed into thorns, like the rose flower. You have it there. Then some can be developed into bulbs. Some buds can develop into bulbils. Bulbils, like one type of yam. It grows and has something like bulbs inside on them, and is edible. So some can develop into bulbs. These are some of the modifications of the buds. These are some of the modifications of the buds. Now let's look at habits of plants. Some plants can stay, some plants that are small and have soft stems. Some plants are small and have soft stems. They are called herbs or herbaceous plants. Herbaceous plants are those herbs you find around your compound, like green you find around your compound. These are herbs that you can just collect. So that is one type of plant you have. Then you also have shrubs. Shrubs are bigger than herbs, and then but they have not grown into trees. So shrubs are found mainly in the desert region or in the regions that have less supply of water. So they grow. It's a kind of they grow into a medium-sized plant.
Please, sir, can you mute everybody? The noise in the background is much, sir. Please.
They know that they are very clear.
Please, can you help yourself? Can you help yourself and mute yourself, please? So let's go. Let's go. So you have shrubs. They are medium-sized plants. They are not trees and they are not herbs. So they are called what? Shrubs. Now you now have trees. After shrubs, you have trees. Mango is a tree. Coconut is a tree. Cashew is a tree. What you call pineapple is a tree. So trees grow big and have big stems and woody, and they have branches. So the next one is annual plants. Annual plants are plants that can grow and harvested within 1 year. Annual plants, they can grow and you harvest them within 1 year. These are called annual plants. Then you also have biennial plants. They grow and you harvest them within 2 seasons. Within 2 seasons, you must have harvested a plant, or 2 years. They are called what? Biennial. Bi means 2. The other one is annual, 1 year. Then you also have perennials. Perennial plants. These are plants that can grow and be harvested, that can stay for many years. Perennial plants. Can you give me an example of a perennial plant? Cocoa is a perennial plant.
Mango.
You can plant it and it can last for a very long number of years.
Coconut
We
tree.
call it perennial plant.
Palm tree.
Mango is perennial. Cashew is perennial.
Cashew.
Palm
Yes.
tree.
Palm tree is perennial. Because you harvest it from year to year, continuous like that. Now let me ask you, Papa, which group does Papa belong?
Perennial.
Which group does he
Perennial
belong?
too.
Perennial too.
Perennial.
It stays more than 2 years.
Coconut can
It can stay more than 2 years. Now, there are some plants that are climbers. Some plants are climbers.
Peace, Nkechinyere, please off your mic. Peace, Nkechinyere, off your mic, please.
Some plants are climbers. That means they have tiny and long stems, with or without branches. They are weak and cannot stand erect. So what they do is that they climb climb and grow. If you go to a big forest, you see climbers, and that's why the forest become thick, because you have climbers. So this is a modifications, one of the group of plants. So here you have herbs. Herbs are what? Small plants, and they have soft stems. You have shrubs. They are medium-sized plants, but they also have woody stems. Then you have trees that grow into very big, tall, and have woody trunk and branches. You have annual plants. You harvest them within 1 year, biennials, 2 years, perennials, many years, and then you have climbers. These are different types of plants. Then let's look at modifications of the stems. Modifications of the stem. And the stem serve other purpose apart from holding the plant or transferring food from the root to the leaves. Can the stem serve other purposes to the plant? Yes. Can it be modified to carry out other things? Yes. They can be modified to store food. Example is underground stem. Do you know that yam is an underground stem? Because it has nodes and internodes.
Yes, sir.
Do you know that cocoyam is an underground stem? Because it has nodes and internodes. So these are the modifications of the stem. Some stems are modified to store food, like yam, like cocoyam, like what? Even
ginger.
Ginger, onions, bulb. That onions you eat every day. You harvest it inside the ground. The leaves come and where the stem is inside the ground. So onions is an underground stem. I hope you understand. You find out that the leaves are swollen with food. Now, you also have rhizomes. You have rhizomes. Somebody mentioned ginger. Ginger is a rhizome. They grow below the soil with thick stem and grow horizontally on the ground, but sometimes vertically. So they grow vertically under the ground. So example is what? Ginger. Another example is water lily. You find out that they grow very lengthy, and the nodes are found in each of these branches on the ground. So example is ginger. Water lily is an example. Then we also have tubers, underground tubers. That means swollen underground stem, and there has food on that swollen area. We have mentioned it: yam, potato, cassava. They are tubers. They grow underground, even though that cassava is underground root. Cassava is underground root. So we have rhizomes. Example is ginger, the water lily, etc. Then you have the tubers, swollen underground. Then you also have the bulb. They are fleshy, scaly. Onions is a bulb, found on the ground. Then you also have corn. Corn is cocoyam. You find this on the ground. So these are modifications of the stem. So the stem can serve other purposes apart from helping the plants to stand erect. It can serve other purposes as I've enumerated. Then area modifications. Area modifications. So the stem can be modified aerially, outside, not on the ground. It can modify it aerially. Like the one I told you, thorn, Thorn, is the bud of some plants that are modified to choke somebody, like the rose flower. If you go to harvest to collect it, if care is not taken, it will choke you because the stem has been modified to form thorn. Then some have been modified to form tendrils, like yam, like pumpkin. They are modified to form tendrils that climb. Some are modified to form offsets, like water hyacinth. If you have gone into the water that has water hyacinth, you see how it grows and then produce leaves, grow again, all of them on surface of the water. This is what we call offsets. Then you also have stolon. Example is strawberry. Then you also have the runners that creep on the ground, like the rhizomes. These are different modifications of the stem. Now let's do a kind of summary. You have about 8 minutes to go. We have to do summary of what to do today. We started by looking at the roots. We said that the root is the part of the plant that grows below the soil and helps to absorb water and mineral salt. This is the primary function of the root, to absorb water and mineral salts. Types of roots. We found out that you have two types of roots. You have the fibrous roots, or what we call adventitious roots, and then tap roots. These are two types of roots, the fibrous roots and tap roots. Then fibrous roots comes from a monocotyledonous plant that have only one cotyledon, give rise to what? Fibrous roots. Plants that have dicotyledons give rise to what? Tap roots. Or to that the plants that have two cotyledons or dicotyledonous plant give rise to tap roots. Then we drew this diagram of a tap root. And when we say that when we draw tap root, one of the roots, main root, grow down very deep, many feet inside the soil. Then you have other branches that come above. So the primary root is the one that grows down deep, and the other branches can come. Then you have fibrous roots. When you draw fibrous root, you find out that you don't have any primary root that grows down. All of them are just shallow above, below the soil. And that is why it is easy to fell a plant that has fibrous roots and a plant that have a tap root. It's easy for you to pull out maize, and not easy for you to pull out cashew nut of the same height, because cashew nut has tap root, main root that grows down into the soil. Now, we say what are the functions of the roots? We say that roots are helps in anchorage and in absorbing water. Then we look at the regions of the roots.
This Hausa guy, I don't know what is your problem.
We drew the roots and find out that the root contains the tender part, which is covered by what? The root cap. After the root cap, the next region is the region of cell division. After the region of cell division,
mute your mic.
Meristematic region. Then we now come to the region of cell elongation. After the region of cell elongation, you have the region of cell maturation. I repeat, I say in a root, you have the root cap, then the region of cell division or meristematic region, region of cell elongation, and region of cell maturation. Yes. And then we now move to look at characteristics of the roots. We say that the roots are never green. They are never green in color, and they grow below the soil. And they don't bear nodes or internodes. They don't have nodes or internodes. And then some ends, the root is end up and the root end, that's the root tip, the end of the root is protected by the root cap. And then they bear unicellular hairs. The root developed from the inner layer, from the inner pericycle. Because it developed from the inner layer or inner pericycle, they say they are endogenous, or like the one that developed from outside called exogenous.
You want to print all three on the
The roots does not have nodes or internodes. These are the characteristics of roots. Then finally, we look at modified roots. I said that roots have been modified to carry out the following function.
Hello.
So one is modified for storage of foods, especially the carrots or yam. Roots can be modified, can be branched for respiration, can be modified for respiration. Example is in a plant that stay in a region that have a lot of swamp. Then some are modified for climbing. Some are modified for storage of food, like the roots of cassava. Then some are buttress roots, which helps to anchor the plant. They are in a kind of bunch. Some are modified for sucking. These are the modifications of the roots. Then we look at the stem. You said that the stem is the region that grows above the soil, even though some stems grow below. Now, we look at forms of stem. You have the area stems and the underground stems. We say that area stem grow above and underground below grow below. Then we look at nodes and internodes. You say the node is the point on the stem or branch where one or more leaves develop. Then the distance between two nodes are called internodes. Then we look at a bud. A bud is a young undeveloped shoot consisting of what? A very short stem and tender leaves. You have terminal buds, you have axillary buds, you have foliar buds. I say natural ways by which the buds can protect itself, they are overlapping. They are never one side. The buds are overlapping so that if anything happens to this side, the other one can survive. Some are covered with haze or gummy structure or gummy secretions so that the buds are protected. Some are supported by scaly leaves so that before you can reach the main bud, you touch the scales and then the scale protects the bud. Some are coated with wax on the surface to control water loss so that the bud can stay for a long time. Then we did modification of buds. Some are modified into tendrils that rope-like, they look like rope-like. Example is in what? Fluted pumpkin. Example is the yam. Some are modified into thorns. Example we see in a rose flower. Example is even in yam. There is thorns in yam. If you guys not taking, you can picture it. Then some are modified into bulbs that can store food in form of bulb. Then we look at the herbs, which are plants that can have a small and have soft stem. We saw shrubs, which are medium size. They are not trees and they are not herbs. Then you have trees, which can grow into woody stems. Then you have annual plants, biennial plants, perennial plants. Then you have climbers that can climb. Then modifications of the stem, underground stem, e.g. yam, cocoyam, bulb, onions. Rhizomes, e.g. ginger, tubers, example, yam also, potato, cassava, bulbs, onions, and cocoyam. Then area modification, the leaves can be modified above instead of below. Here you have the thorn, the tendron, the offset, the stolon, and the runners. Do you have questions?
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, my brother. How are you?
Thank God, sir. Please, sir, I
Is
just
that
wanted,
Efe?
yes, this is Efe, Mr. Efe.
Yes.
Sir, I wanted to confirm, you said yam can be planted by cutting it into pieces because it has nodes and internodes.
Yes, yes.
So what we are used to in how we plant yam is
Yes.
by cutting the head, then planting that head.
No, you can cut it into pieces. Try this one. All of them will germinate. I'm a farmer, so I'm talking from experience.
Yes, you can cut it into pieces, different pieces. You
Yes,
plant
I can
it,
germinate.
it will germinate, yes.
Yes, thank you. But if you cut cassava into pieces, it can never germinate because it doesn't have nodes and internodes.
Yes.
You can only propagate the cassava by stem because that is where you have the nodes and internodes and the buds.
Okay.
Any other question? Any other question?
We cut cassava, yam into pieces and plant it to germinate.
If you cut cassava into pieces and plant it will never germinate, it will rot away.
I'm talking about yam.
Yam can germinate, yes, because it has nodes and internodes, but cassava does not have nodes and internodes. So cassava is a root tuber, but yam is a stem tuber. Can you call any other question?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, I can listen.
So this is Ruth. Actually, when we were talking about the modification of buds, so I wanted to ask, this cactus plant, that plant that has thorns over it.
Yes.
Can it be as under the modification of buds also?
Of course, because once you want to, this is a protective function. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
When we come to the leaves, you see that there are modifications of leaves. Some leaves can have thorns and can store food on their leaves. Ayog wants to ask question.
Okay. So I want to confirm that only plants that have nodes and internodes are the ones that can be cultivated directly by cutting it into pieces, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I was one that sent a message about the textbook, but you said it's in hard copy. You don't have the soft copy. I was one that sent you a message.
You will see it in your this thing. 101 by 101 is there.
I've been trying to download it online. I can't find it. That's why I chatted.
Your colleagues can help you. It's there. I'm sure. I even opened it today. Any other question before we end? 1 minute more.
I can send to you.
Any other question? So I say thank you. Remember next week by 3 o'clock. I tried to open today, but I have some little glitches. So we thank God I joined.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Last time you promised that you will give us a notification before this time, and
I
today
sent
we didn't have it.
notification today. I sent notification today.
He sent
You did
email
not get your
twice.
phone.
It's 2 times.
I sent it
email.
2 times. Thank you.
He sent
Some
email
people
2 times.
received it. I sent it 2 times.
Sorry, please, where is the notification being sent to?
I sent it.
It's to your email. To your email.
Can we end
Some
it
of
here?
some of us are not receiving mail. Probably sometime next time, maybe you send it to the platform. Please, sir.
Okay, I will try. I will do that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, my dear. Thanks and bye-bye. Have a
Thank you,
lovely
sir.
day. Bye.
Bye.
I don't disturb the plan.
Thank you. Thank